What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is your weekly reactor hunt video. I've been gone for just over 2 weeks. This is my first video back. We're going to be jumping back into regular First Descendant content. And what a way to kick it off with our usual reactor hunt video. Now that's because every Tuesday the reactors are essentially changed from where they drop in the world. So that means you can farm different activities for a higher chance of getting specific reactor combinations to drop and hopefully get your descendants kitted out with best in slot stuff. Now this video covers from the 4th of March till the 11th of March, and basically how I put this information together is, first of all, we can put something like this, and this shows us the best in slot reactor combination for every single descendant that is currently in the game. We can further on refine that information to something like this, which shows us that we can actually combine certain descendants together and farm for them at the same time. Izamo and Lepic being a good example because both of them use fire and tech. Now this week is a good week if you're into Enzo, Yujin and Luna, but more specifically if you're into Yujin and Luna in their damage dealing AoE capabilities. So what I mean by this is, by default, if you don't have proliferating allergy, and maybe I can just move my face over here, equipped, you'll see that all of the abilities are, these are heal abilities, everything like that. Yujin's kind of like a heal character. The same thing's true for Luna. But they do have DPS configurations as well. Proliferating allergy over here basically turns this skill into a singular skill. So therefore it means that if you want to build this version of Yujin or Luna of course using noise surge, then your best bet is to find yourself a reactor like this, materialized singularity. Now if you are looking for that this week, good news for you. We can go all the way over to Kingston, the first starting area, Grand Square. We've got a mission here called Kingston Surveillance Radar. Short little mission that you can do. It's got a couple of groups that spawn into it. You can just murder them out with whichever AoE descendant you like to use. Kill them quickly. You can do this much faster than the 3 minutes or less, and you can hopefully get a whole bunch of these reactors to drop and the one that you're looking for. Next up, not quite getting off Yujin yet. If you're looking to build a good healing Yujin, aka Healjin, then you're going to need a reactor like this, a materialized mixture reactor, which is non-attribute fusion. This is your best bet for pulling off sick heals with this descendant, and that is also really farmable this week by going to a place called Sterile Land and then going to Rockfall, which is basically over here. And we have a good old dependable mission over here called Anticipated Ambush Point. Same thing that I said about the previous farm. This is a small little area that you can very easily farm with an AoE descendant like Bunny, for example. You can just blast through the enemies here and then rinse, repeat down to the bottom. Works really well if you have a buddy working the button for you. This is true for most of these kinds of farms. So if you do have buddies that are doing this, buddy up with them. I just said buddy like 6 times in one sentence. Achievement unlocked. But basically play this together in groups because it does, cut down on the farming activity. If you've got one guy running the button, another guy doing the killing, and you can basically just pull all the loot together. Next up is Bunny and Ines if you are playing Ines without the Hunting Hounds mod. Then in other words, you are looking for a tingling singularity reactor, which is electric and singular. That is Bunny's best in slot reactor because that of course empowers her AoE ability. But also, like I said, if you are playing Ines and for some reason you are not playing Hunting Hounds, then that is the reactor that you're looking for. Now this week we've got a fairly decent farm for that as well. We're going to go back to Sterile Land. We're actually going to go down to this area over here, which is Repository. Repository has a mission in it called Kuiper Mine, and you can basically go into this mission and activate it, go get the button, and then you have 7 mines that you have to dismantle. Only you're not going to do that. You're going to let the time run out. It's going to give you about 5 minutes to farm this area. You can kind of like with a good AoE descendant, you can be super lazy and just chill in the middle and everything around you will just die. And since you got a doggo, he's going to go around and pick everything up for you. Or if for some reason you are petless, then of course every couple of minutes you can dip out, pick everything up. But this is going to give you a decent amount of gold, Kuiper, weapon proficiency, character XP, and yeah, you guessed it, a whole bunch of reactors. Hopefully you get a decent one for those 2 descendants. Sticking with electric, it's also a good week for Sharen. Sharen uses a different electric reactor though. She uses tingling mixture, which is electric fusion. If you are looking to kit out your Sharen, well, there's also a decent farm this week. Or, I mean, there's a little asterisk behind it, and I'll explain. If you go over to White Knight Gulch, you have an area over here called Shipment Base, and there's a mission here called Fortress Outskirts. Now, when the game came out, this was probably, in my opinion, one of the best farms in the game because you could essentially dam up so many enemies by going into this area and sort of like activating all 4 pads and then just running in between them, letting the time run out and essentially killing everything. Now this has been nerfed, I think, at least twice, so it's not nearly as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty lucrative. You're going to get a decent amount of gold, Kuiper, weapon proficiency, character XP, reactors and stuff like that to drop. And just bear in mind though that it can still get a little bit spicy if you are super glass cannon, because the enemies can sort of like kind of multiply up on you. But by just sort of running like a semicircle or basically counterclockwise between the areas, you can essentially kill all the enemies, and you're gonna let it run out. You're not actually gonna play the objective, and then as soon as that's done, you're gonna quit, you're gonna go back down, you're gonna reset, and you're gonna go again. Hopefully you get some good Sharen reactors. Second last farm of the week is Freyna. Freyna uses toxic mechanics, which is toxic tech, so her best in slot reactor. This week we have a decent farm for that as well. Again, with a slight caveat, I feel like I have to do this now with every farm because they nerf all the good shit, or at least they used to. This hasn't happened a lot recently, so I suppose I should be a little bit less negative about it. But in Fortress, you have an outpost down here. This was the original Valby run. And so this one still exists. You can still do it with Valby. This one is big enough that you can actually do it with Bunny as well. The Valby method is essentially kitting out your Valby in such a way that you make your stream that you drop as thin as possible so that you don't actually endanger the boss when they sort of like walk around the arena. Although I will say this one, you don't really have that as a problem because A, the boss is tough as shit, and secondly, the arena is massive. But you also want to increase the damage of your ability so that it actually kills the enemies in essentially one tap, which ensures that for the entire duration of the 2 minutes and 30 something seconds, I think it's 36 or to 40, it depends, sometimes it's weird, but for the entire duration of that, you are killing as many of these enemies as possible. These outpost farms, especially certain ones of them, can be extremely good with good XP, weapon proficiency, gold, Kuiper, and reactors. This is one of the lesser good ones. I'd say this is definitely top 5, but this is going to be like number fucking 5 or 4. But you're still going to get a decent amount of reactors and hopefully the Freyna tech that you're looking for. And then last but not least, the worst Descendant that we got out of season 2. I get into shit for saying this all the time, but come on guys, we just got to be real. Like, Keelan needs some fucking love. But that being said, I do know there are people that enjoy playing him, and I mean, you do you, boo. You play what you want to play. In the end, it's your game, and you do with your time what you want. But Keelan is a little bit of an odd duck. He kind of has 2 different reactors that you can build for him, depending on which abilities you want to highlight. Now, the main point is that 2 of his abilities are fusion abilities, his 1 and his 4, and 2 of his abilities are singular abilities, his 2 and his 3. So if you are looking for a singular reactor for him this weekend, which happens to be, let me find it quickly over here. There we go. It looks something like this. So it's a toxic singularity like this. Maybe I can just move my face back. So toxic singular, then there is a really good farm for you this week. Now this configuration, by the way, toxic singular tends to be his, I would say, his fast configuration. So if you're looking to do content fast, then this is kind of like the one that you want to go for. So that's toxic singular. This week, if you want to run that, good news for you, you're going to go to Echo Swamp and you're going to go to an area down here, abandoned zone. And that, dude, I do this every week and I still can't say that word. And then there's a mission here called Environment Contamination Zone. Now this is an OG mission for Bunny, but it's not to say that you have to use her for this. She just works exceptionally well. But any Descendant that can run through the area very fast and can essentially complete this loop. Again, this is one of those ones which benefits from having a buddy run the button. But essentially this has a decent amount of enemies. You have breakers that drop here, everything. There's yellow bars in the mix here and everything. Gives you good XP proficiency, gold, Kuiper. And yeah, there will be reactors. So you can get some good ones for Keelan and you can start running him and show off how good your Keelan skills are. Usually I also give a shout out to external components, but there are no good external component farms this week, at least according to me. That means the only thing that's left for you to do is farm those reactors, baby. Of course, we have what are we calling it? Like season 2 part Redux 2, the revenge of the season 2, something like that. Of course, that is dropping very soon, so that's going to give us some new stuff to do. Also, most recently, they've changed, you know, like that external components drop a lot more. Like you get like fucking 8 now when you do avoid intercept boss. So people have been struggling to build like decent external component sets and stuff. There's no reason why you shouldn't be prioritizing that right now. It is easier than ever to get these done. So there's always something to do in this game. It is, after all, the perfect fucking hamster wheel. But that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to be putting out some build videos, gun videos, all that stuff. I'm getting back into the swing of things. Like I said, just came back. Thank you so much for all the support in the content. As usual, I'll see you next video. You guessed it. Fucking cheers.